Welcome to Biz Wire. We lead off today with the aerospace industry as China will invest at least $16 billion in a national research and development project for aircraft engines. The China Securities Journal reported that the State Council is considering the proposal and is likely to approve it in the near future. State-run media outlet Xinhua quoted an unidentified professor at the Beijing University of Aeronautics and Astronautics with knowledge of the project as saying the investment would be used mainly for research on technology, designs, and materials related to aircraft engine manufacturing. The professor said China remains comparatively weak in almost every field related to the development and production of aircraft engines. China is determined to reduce its dependency on foreign companies like Boeing, EADS-owned Airbus, General Electric, and Rolls-Royce for the country's soaring demand for planes and engines. So far, the domestic aerospace industry has failed to build a reliable, high-performance jet engine to end its dependence on Russian and Western makers for equipping its military and commercial aircraft. The professor said the project is going through approval procedures in the State Council and may be approved shortly. China's military and aerospace industries have suffered from bans on the sale of military equipment imposed by Western governments since 1989, and foreign engine makers are reluctant to transfer costly technology. Two subsidiaries of the Aviation Industry Corporation of China, Shenyang Liming Aero Engine Corporation and AVIC Xi'an Aero Engine, will lead the project, and some research institutions will also participate. Aviation Industry Corporation of China, or AVIC, the country's dominant military and commercial aviation contractor, had lobbied the government to back a multi-billion-dollar plan to build a high-performance jet engine. A few months ago, AVIC announced plans to raise more money in mainland China and Hong Kong stock markets to bankroll future growth. Now, this was seen as a sign that Beijing is opening up a sector traditionally shielded from competition and public scrutiny as it taps private sector funds to help speed up the development of its aviation and defense firms to compete with global giants such as Lockheed Martin. AVIC aims to quadruple its sales to $160 billion by 2020 and plans to inject 80% of its main businesses into some of its listed companies by the end of next year. The sprawling Beijing-based enterprises has more than 400,000 employees and 200 subsidiaries, including 24 listed units. Beijing is pressing ahead with an ambitious program to privatize a big chunk of a defense industry employing more than 1 million workers at more than 1,000 state-owned enterprises. The long-term goal is to transform some of the country's leading contractors, such as China State Shipbuilding Corporation, AVIC, and the China Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation, into homegrown versions of Northrop Grumman and BAE Systems. A brokerage firm Guangda Securities said in a report that China will become the biggest buyer of aircraft and aircraft engines within 20 years and will need around 3,000 aircraft by 2026, adding that this will create demand for around 6,500 aircraft engines worth about $65 billion. Now, some Chinese aviation industry specialists forecast Beijing will eventually spend upwards of $50 billion on jet engine development over the next 2 decades. Aircraft engines are seen as having huge potential in China as air traffic in the country grows at 8% a year. Experts say China's ability to develop engines for passenger aircraft could have considerable potential for technology transfer to the military. High-performance military jet engines are seen as crucial to Beijing's long-term plan to increase the number of frontline fighters and strike aircraft in its Air Force and naval aviation units. These aircraft would be a key element of a long-term military buildup aimed primarily at securing military dominance over Taiwan and other disputed territory off China's east and southern coasts, all of which China claims as its own.